Okay, next, let's talk about our main sequencer window in arrangement view. So, we've already talked about this a little bit, but what we have here is each track going horizontally, right? And we have audio and MIDI tracks. So I've started a new session here. I have 2 audio tracks and 2 MIDI tracks. Okay, so what we're seeing here, let me just go over the different areas real quick. Okay, so we have our sequencer window here. This is where we're going to put all our clips, right? Up here we have the timeline, and it's showing here bars. Okay, so 17, 21, 25. If I zoom in, we'll get down to complete sequential, 21, 22, 23, 24, etc. Okay. Up here we have, this is kind of a 10,000 foot view of the whole project. So you can kind of see everything that's in the project and scroll super fast. Okay. It's actually not something I regularly use. At the bottom, we have the timeline again, but in terms of minutes and seconds. Okay. We also have some return tracks here. We'll talk about how to use these later, but these are kind of specialized tracks where you don't put any clips directly on these tracks. Then on the right side, we have our mixer section. Okay, so here we have the name of our track, and we have a little show hide triangle here. This will just kind of minimize that track to make it nice and small. Okay. Here we have our inputs and our outputs, and in between is our monitor stuff. We'll go over how all that works soon, but on an audio track, our input is going to be what is it listening to if we're recording something. So let's say external in channel 1. That is the microphone I am currently talking into. Okay, so now we see my voice. So now that I've set that up right, I could click somewhere and press record, and we're recording my voice. Hooray! Blah, 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 blah. There it is. Cool, right? Monitor section means what we're going to hear while we are recording. And this is our output. And right now we just have it set to the master. We want it to go out to the master. The master is here at the bottom. This is our master output. That generally just sends right to our speakers. Over here we have more in the mixer part. This yellow box is what Ableton calls track activator, but in all reality, it's a mute button. So if it's yellow, that means we're going to hear that track. If we click it, we can turn it off, and now this track is off. Okay, we're not going to hear this track. So you want them yellow to hear them. Solo means we will only hear this track, so all the other ones turn off. And this red button means it is armed to record. That means once we start recording, we're going to record on that track. This blue slider here is the volume of this track. You can click and drag. And this little C here is our panning. Panning is the left-right balance. Okay, so if I go all the way here, it's 50 left. That's all the way left. 50 R's all the way right. And then C is center. Okay, we'll play around with panning more later, don't worry. One really cool interface thing is if you've done something like this and you've changed the settings and you just want to get it back to the default, I think this works on any Ableton parameter. Just click on it once with the mouse and then press your delete key. That'll take it back to its default. Okay, it's a handy little trick. These two little boxes are to send the signal down to our sends, which are these down here. Okay, so more on that soon. Inf means negative infinity, which means we're not sending anything. Okay, so that's how this section works. Now, if you're not recording into an audio track and you just want to drop samples in there or anything else, then your input doesn't really matter because you're not using it as a live input track. So if you just want to drop a sample in there, you can do that. Okay, so just kind of a quick overview of what we're seeing here in the main sequencer window of arrangement view. Now let's go over and look at session view, the same kind of area but in session view.